Hi everyone. Number 4. Colossal Wall of China. The colossal walls that surround the Inca city of Saksaywaman are still a mystery to modern man. These walls, some reaching over 36 feet high and 20 feet thick, were constructed by a civilization with no draft animals, wheeled vehicles, or even the iron tools we think are essential to building such large structures. Yet, somehow they managed to build these massive stone walls with astonishing precision, using nothing but crude tools made from flint and steel. But how exactly did they do this? Well, scientists have put forward a few different theories, but none of them quite explain all of the different aspects of these constructions. So what I'm about to share is merely a compilation of the most accepted ideas, and if you can come up with a better theory, I'd love to hear it in the comments. Let's begin. First off, let's consider the sheer scale of what the Incas accomplished here. The walls alone took over 70 years to complete. Built between 1438 and 1494 AD, they consist of 3 separate walls, each over 8 miles long, forming an irregular triangle around the city. At the time of construction, Saksaywaman was the capital of the largest empire in all of pre-Columbian America, home to some 15 million people. And the city itself was probably home to anywhere between 20,000 and 50,000 citizens. Even today, is one of the most popular tourist destinations in South America, with over 1.5 million visitors every single year. That's why it's crucial that we learn more about its history, so we can preserve this sacred site for future generations. But back to the walls, which contain 2 of the 7 wonders of the world, the lost city of the Incas and the sacred valley of the Incas. The outer wall reaches nearly 40 feet tall and is by far the most impressive. It's also the oldest, dating back to around 1100 AD, when the first Inca ruler, Manco Capac, allegedly founded the empire here, supposedly began construction on the city by ordering his subjects to bring stones from the mountains nearby. How they moved these giant stones remains a mystery, but there are many theories as to how it was done. One idea is that the Incas simply dragged the rocks across the ground, likely using a combination of brute force and primitive tools like levers and rollers. This is supported by the fact that many of the rocks show signs of wear consistent with movement along the ground. However, this doesn't really explain how they managed to lift the stones up to such a height. Another theory is that the Incas built ramps to help them haul the stones upwards. And this would make sense since many of the walls follow the contours of hills and mountains already in existence. Ramps could have been constructed out of earth and rock, and the Incas may have used ropes and pulleys to hoist the stones onto their backs. This theory is supported by the fact that several buildings within the city resemble the shape of pyramids, which were often used as artificial hills to support ramps during the construction of Egyptian pyramids. Plus, Inca ruins have also been found near other South American sites, where ramps were used for moving heavy objects. For example, at the Puma Punku site in Bolivia, huge stones weighing up to 14 tons were pushed and pulled up a ramp system to create the foundations of an enormous temple. However, there's another explanation that might just be the most plausible. According to archaeologist John Earls, many of the megalithic walls we see today were actually built using a technique called false masonry. This means instead of cutting stones to fit together like Legos, the Incas simply stacked stones on top of each other in such a way that the joints were hidden. Basically, the stones are shaped in a way that the corners of one stone fit into the gaps created by the edges of the other, creating a false impression of interlocking stones. Now, this isn't exactly new. It's been used in various cultures throughout history, including by the Egyptians and the Greeks. In fact, you can actually visit Greece today and see the Temple of Zeus at Olympia, which was built using a similar technique. It's much older than the Acropolis, but it's also much more weathered, which makes it harder to tell, apart from true polygonal masonry. What's interesting about Saksaywaman is that it contains both types of walls, highly dressed stones that fit together like a puzzle, and false masonry. Seems that the Inca builders used whichever method was most convenient, given the circumstances. It should be noted that none of these explanations are mutually exclusive, and it's entirely possible that the Inca used multiple methods. For instance, they may have rolled the stones to the base of the hill, then used ramps and levers to lift them higher and higher, eventually resorting to false masonry once the walls reached a certain height. Whatever. the case. The sheer precision required to construct these megaliths is truly mind-boggling. Many of the stones weigh many tons, and they were hauled to the top of the walls without any mortar or glue of any kind. The only thing holding these walls together is the incredible skill of the Inca builders, who cut and placed each rock precisely to ensure the structure's stability. In fact, the entire complex of Saksaywaman consists of roughly 400,000 stones, not including the smaller stones and rocks that form the core of the walls. The main walls themselves are only about 35 feet wide, but they're so well built that they've survived over 700 years of earthquakes, erosion, and even human vandalism. That's why we're still able to marvel at these majestic megaliths today. When the Spanish conquistadors arrived in the 16th century, they were so impressed by the massive walls surrounding the city that they believed the Inca must have used machines powered by demons to move the stones. Of course, we now know that wasn't the case. But that doesn't mean that Incas didn't use techniques beyond our current understanding at all. The Inca were skilled astronomers and mathematicians who developed their own unique calendar that was surprisingly accurate for its time. They also built sophisticated irrigation systems and roads throughout their empire, allowing them to transport goods and communicate over long distances. In fact, some historians believe that the Inca road system was the most extensive in the world at the time, stretching over 40,000 kilometers. So, it's not unreasonable to suggest that the Inca also had advanced knowledge of engineering and construction techniques. Unfortunately, we don't have much evidence of this because most of the Inca's written records were destroyed during the Spanish conquest. What little remains was written in quipu, a type of knotted rope that served as a kind of Inca hard drive storing numerical data. We're still working on figuring out exactly how the quipu worked, but hopefully one day we'll be able to unlock the secrets of Inca mathematics and engineering. Until then, the true story of how the Incas built their colossal walls will remain a mystery. Thanks for watching.